In this lesson, we're going to learn how to subtract integers. As you already know, subtracting is the inverse operation of addition. So we're basically going to do the opposite of adding. Or another way of saying that is that we're going to add the opposite of the second number. In the last lesson, we had learned what the different rules are for adding integers. And so we're going to use those rules in this lesson as well. But before we can use those, we have to change the subtraction problem into an addition problem. And we use that by using the rule of keep, change, change. What that means is that you're going to keep the first number exactly as it is. You're going to change the minus sign to a plus sign, and you're going to change the sign of the second number. For example, if I want to subtract negative 16 minus 4, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the first number. So the negative 16 stays as negative 16. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the minus sign to a plus sign. And then the last thing I do to change it to an addition problem is I'm going to change the sign of the last number, of the second number, which this number is a positive 4. So we change that to a negative 4. So now we notice here that both signs are the same, okay? Signs are the same. And if we know, I misspelled that. Not signs are the same. And so we know that if the signs are the same, we're going to add and give it the same sign. All right, that we learned that in the last lesson. So if we add, 16 plus 4 is 20, and negative is, both of them are negative, so the answer is negative 20. All right, subtract negative 3 minus 1. We're going to do keep the first number, so negative 3 stays as negative 3. We're going to change the minus to a plus. And we're going to change the 1 to a negative 1. So if we look at this, we look negative 3, negative 1. So we have the same signs. All right, they're both negative. So that means we're going to add the two numbers and give it the same sign. All right, so very easily, 3 plus 1 is 4, and they're both negative. So it's a negative 4. All right, so now we're going to subtract negative 2 minus negative 4. I'm just going to write K, C, C. Keep the negative 2. All right, negative 2. Change the minus to a plus. And here we have a negative 4. That changes to a positive 4. All right, so we have negative 2 plus 4. If we remember the rules from the last lesson, if the signs are different, so we have different signs, the different signs means we subtract, different signs, subtract and give the sign of the largest number. Okay, I'm just going to write the sign of the largest. All right, so we subtract, so that's 4 minus 2 is 2, and the largest number, okay, if we have to take the absolute value of it, okay, so the absolute value, the number with the largest absolute value is the 4, and it's a positive, so this stays as a positive 2. But we normally don't write that positive in there, we just write it as 2. All right, Another way of looking at this is that you notice that up here we have a double negative. A double negative turns into a positive. All right, and you notice that. You notice that when we change that, it changed into that double negative up here, changed into a plus, a positive. Okay, so that is another little shortcut way of whenever you see the double negative, you know it's going to turn into a plus, a positive. All right. Subtract 5 minus negative 2. Keep, change. Keep the 5. The minus becomes a plus. The negative 2 becomes a positive 2. All right. Once again, they're the same sign. They're both positive. Okay. So we going to add them and give the same sign. Okay. Give it the sign that's on there. And these are both positive. So 5 plus 2 is 7. It's a positive 7. But like I said previously, you don't put the little plus up in front of it. We just write it as that. The other thing to notice here also is that it's a double negative, so that would just be that becomes a positive, just like that too. Okay. All right. Subtract negative 3 minus 7. Keep, change. Negative 3. Keep the negative 3. The minus becomes a plus, and the 7 becomes a negative 7. All right. So what rule do we use? Well, we notice that they're both have the same sign. Okay. So we're going to add. All right. 3 and 7 is 10, and give it the same sign, so it becomes a negative 10. Okay. So the sign stays the same. Okay. All right. Negative 1 minus negative 8. Keep, change. Keep the negative 1. Change the minus to a plus. Change the positive 8, or change the negative 8 to a positive 8. So once again, it's a negative and then a positive. So we have different signs. Okay, which means that we subtract. 8 minus 1 is 7, and we give it the sign of the largest. Okay, sign of the largest number. And the largest number is a positive 8, so it just stays as 7. Because it stays as a positive, number. All right. The last couple of problems we're going to do is when we're going to take an expression and we're going to substitute the numbers in for the variables. So the x becomes a negative 3 minus the y, which is a positive 2. So now we just do it the same as what we have been doing all along. We're going to keep, change. Keep the negative 3. The minus becomes a plus, and the positive 2 becomes a negative 2. Remember the rules for addition. If the signs are the same, so we have the same signs, okay, that means we're going to add and give the same sign, okay. All right. So add 3 plus 2 is 5, and because they're both negative, it's a negative 5. X minus y, when x is 4 and y is 6. So we end up with 4 minus 6. Keep, change. change. Keep the first one, 4. Change the minus to a plus, and change the 6 to a -6. All right, now when we look at it, we have different signs, okay? Different signs, which means that we subtract, right? So 6 minus 4 is 2, and give the sign of the largest number. And when I say that, when I say the largest number, I mean the number that has the largest absolute value, which in this case is a negative, so the answer would be -2. All right. All right. Last problem. Or maybe no, maybe we have another one after this. I guess we have another one after this. Okay. Substitute it in. X is -4 minus -3. All right. Keep, change, change. Keep the -4. Change the minus to a plus. Change the -3. Once again, remember we do that, so that becomes a +3. All right. Once again, we can see we got that double negative there. All right. -4 plus 3. Well, the signs are different. Different signs. All right. So that means we're going to subtract. All right. 4 minus 3 is 1, and the sign of the largest. Okay. Sign of the largest. Well, absolute value of -4 is 4. Absolute value of 3 is 3. So the -4 has the highest absolute value, so that becomes a -1. All right. Now we have the last problem. All right. It says in Fairbanks, Alaska, it was 32 degrees Fahrenheit at 9 o'clock in the evening. The next morning at 6:30, the temperature was -10 degrees Fahrenheit. How much did the temperature change overnight? So we are trying to find the difference between 32 and -10. And you know that whenever we find a difference, we subtract. So we have 32 minus a -10. All right? So now we just do keep, change, change. Keep the 32, change the minus to a plus, and the -10 turns into a +10. So 32 plus 10, they're both positive. So the signs are the same sign, okay? So that means we just add and give it the same sign. 32 plus 10 is 42, and give it the same sign. So it's a +42. So that temperature changed 42 degrees. That's a big temperature change. Anyway, so that's it for this lesson. If you have any questions, make sure you ask, and we'll talk to y'all later on.